Hello, everyone, and welcome to Decoding the WSL, the podcast dedicated to the stats and facts in the WSL. On today's episode, we'll be previewing another WSL team ahead of the new season, and this time, it's a brand new one. We're looking at London City Lionesses, promoted from the WSL2 last season, and I'm your stand-in host for the day, Tom Maher. So to help me decode the newbies, we've got two of my favourite women's football experts. First, we have someone who found time for us despite likely being in the midst of an absolute fantasy storm. Izzy Duddy, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Tom. Glad the game is out, so it's slightly less of a storm. But as always, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, the storm is delayed for a couple of weeks, right? And it'll be back then in full flow. But we love the storm. We love the storm. And we're also in the presence of greatness today. As Sam described her on last week's pod, the lineal Know Your Stat champion, Laura Howard, is here. How are you, Laura?
I'm great, thank you. Very, very much glad to be back to lose my crown.
She's in your head already, Izzy.
I know. I didn't realise I was up against such competition. I'm very nervous now. I better relax into it.
A chance for the lineal crown, though.
Yeah.
That's got to be big. It's got to be big.
Yeah.
Who knows?
We're playing for a lot.
I'd like to say I only won that from being on the first episode and winning one.
Listen, one is excellent, to be honest. It's not easy.
I've managed to avoid coming back since to keep it that way.
100%.
100% record. I mean, we all dream of that. Sam sends around a little bit of a table every now and again to us, and we always see Laura Howard in fourth, the only one who's not like consistently on all the time, who's up at the top. 100% record. You're laughing. So let's see if you can continue it today.
It's all going to go wrong.
Okay. No. Okay, so we're here to talk about London City Lionesses, the freshest face in the WSL. I'm going to go into a little bit of background before we get into it with them, because obviously I'm sure a lot of people will know about them. Their kind of reputation precedes them in many ways, but just for people who might not know a huge amount about them, they split from Millwall FC after almost going bankrupt in April 2018. They split in 2019, and every season of their existence since then has been in the WSL2. They've come close to promotion a couple of times, and in December 2023, Michelle Kang got a majority stake in the club. They went on to finish 8th that season, with Remy Allen taking over for the end of the season. She was replaced by Jocelyn Preischer, a former PSG manager who led them to promotion in his first season, and they become the first independent club to be promoted to the WSL. Just on that last season, a couple of the highlights. They obviously finished first, 2 points ahead of Birmingham City. Isabel Goodwin was the league's top scorer with 16 goals, a goal every 92 minutes, that is. Kosovare Aslani was the league's top assister with 3.4 key passes per match. That's a whole pass more per match than the next highest in the league. Obviously, it all came down to a final day showdown against Birmingham. They held their nerve to draw 2-2 and win promotion. Obviously, it was a great day. I wonder what both of your memories are of that day. Laura, I'll come to you first. What kind of stands out about that match? It was a real blockbuster, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I was in attendance, and it was a really exciting match. I think that's what kind of, I'd been at the Crystal Palace versus Sunderland the season before, and the Championship always bills to be a really exciting final day. And I think the season before had kind of fallen a little bit flat, whereas that one really, really lived up. And Birmingham City's comeback, super exciting. And you really felt like they could do it in the final few minutes, but obviously London City Lionesses held out to go up, and deservedly so, to be fair to them.
Yeah, when Louise Quinn came on, I thought, this is written in the stars. She's got this, but wasn't to be for them. Izzy, what did you make of them last season? Obviously, on the kind of periphery of our, because we all keep track of the Championship, but maybe don't see them week in, week out? Like, what are your initial impressions of them after they got promoted?
Yeah, I obviously, because do so much sort of tracking what happens in the WSL, I often find it quite hard to keep up with WSL 2, but I did watch that match because obviously you want to know who's coming in, and particularly from a fancy perspective, it's good fun to kind of get a bit of a like last day preview. And I remember it was also on. Was it also the last day of the season for the WSL, or it was like FA Cup later round, something like that?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
just remember flicking between about 5 different women's football matches that day, trying to keep up. And every time I went to the London City game, like something new had happened, and I kind of wanted to stay on that one, but then I had to go and check that. It was just like proper chaos, like proper football chaos, and that tells me all I need to know, really. Like, I think it's going to be really good fun and a bit of an interesting kind of dynamic to have them in the WSL.
Yeah, proper football chaos is a good way of describing them, and that's what we love in the WSL. They'll fit right in, I'm sure. A big kind of point of controversy was obviously a billionaire or millionaire philanthropist. Michelle Kang is obviously heavily involved in the team. She's heavily involved in women's football in general. She kind of came on and joined the celebrations. There was a lot of talk about that. And I wondered if I could get one word from each of you to describe her participation in lifting that trophy with the team. Laura?
I'm going to go for incongruous. I wrote a piece afterwards about it, and that was the word I kind of played on.
I think that's a fair word. I think that's fair.
I'm not gonna be able to top the academicness of that word. So I'm gonna go for funny. I thought it was funny.
I think you both captured the moment pretty perfectly there, I'd say, with those two answers. It was both of those things. It was everything to me, I must say. So we'll get back to talking about Michelle Kang a little bit later in the podcast. Obviously, she's a big part of this success story. They obviously, the rest of their season as well in the Cups, they got to the FA Cup fifth round where they lost to Arsenal 2-0, and they went out the Subway Cup group stages. Obviously, it's been a huge amount of change over the summer with London City, maybe more than any other side. They've had a huge amount of players departing, so we'll start there, just listing off the names. You've got Chantel Boyhalorka, Georgia Browham, Megan Campbell, Lucy Fitzgerald, Emma McCandy, Connie Schofield, Amelia Ijo, Danielle Carter, Hermione Cole, Miliana Ivanovic, Charlene Mayong, Shen Menu, and Grace Neville. That huge amount of experience there. Players like Lucy Fitzgerald and Grace Neville all have been there the whole time London City Lionesses have been in existence. And you're looking at Chantal Boyhalorka who's gone to Nottingham Forest, Georgia Brown's gone to Nottingham Forest. They were mainstays in the team last year. Megan Campbell, very similarly, she's taken up a coaching position at Bolton while continuing her career elsewhere. I wanted to come to you first, Izzy. What do you think of those transfers out? And is there any name or any players that you think they might regret letting go of?
I think it's hard to say knowing who they brought in. I think, like, at the end of the day, they are kind of on a sort of sped up version, I would say, of, a football club's journey. And I think when you make that jump from WSL 2 to the WSL with the ambitions that they have, I think it does become a little bit brutal. And the thing is they have money to bring in even more experience and even more talent that I'm not sure they will necessarily regret letting those players go. But I do think maybe it wasn't necessary to completely almost wipe the slate clean, as it were. But yeah, I think it's kind of clear that they want to make a statement, and and so that's sort of the path they've chosen. And
Hmm.
whether that works out, we will see.
Yeah, I think I saw Emily Herbert, the BBC, did a great interview with Jocelyn Preacher today. I think it came out. And one of the things that he said was that we don't want to repeat the same mistakes that Crystal Palace and Bristol did. And, you know, a high turnover of the squad is probably one of those ways that you can avoid that. Wanted to pick out one name in particular and ask you about this, Laura. Can you talk to us a bit about Emma Mukandi? She's a legend of the game. Maybe people who are more recent to the game, to the women's game, might not know so much about her, but obviously WSL champion. You know, can you talk to us a little bit about her?
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's one of those players that often kind of gets a little bit forgotten with maybe just the way the game has grown, which is completely natural. But I was at the Arsenal versus London City Lionesses FA Cup match, and she kind of walked past the North Bank, and I was just like, a more recent player would get like a resounding chant, and I think that is one of the sad things, that you don't get those chants for the past players, and she's definitely a player that deserves it. Yeah, like you said, like won the WSL with Arsenal in 2019. She was in the PFA Team of the Year 2014-15. I was at Arsenal 2013 to 2020. Before that, she was with Glasgow City, among others, and like so successful with Glasgow City, as they have been like hugely dominant in Scotland. And then, yeah, massive part of Arsenal's success throughout those years, and in the 2010s. And I guess part of that team that didn't always have that much success. I think there's the 2014, 2016 FA Cups, and you know, struggling to get those trophies, and then winning that WSL in 2019. She was a key part of that. And I think also, as someone who's probably been a bit of a pioneer in the women's game, she was one of the first players to go out on maternity leave. And I think any player that's still doing that is still going to be a pioneer at this point in the game. So she did that fairly early on, from when we started seeing more and more players do that. And she's also been really open about her own kind of mental health, when players weren't necessarily doing that. So I think, yeah, huge on and off the pitch. And just also a fun trivia that she's played for Arsenal and Tottenham, which I think we'll see less and less of. So she's one of those rare examples, of kind of going out on loan to Tottenham. So yeah, huge. Just like so much respect for her, and glad that she's kind of bowed out in a good way, and with that promotion.
Yeah, you summed her up brilliantly there. Yeah, huge player for Arsenal, and yeah, a real pioneer, like you said. Put it really well. So moving on to the incomings, obviously this is where all the excitement is really for London City Lionesses fans, and let's be honest, for everyone really. We're all enjoying this. So incoming players, they've got Daniela van der Donk, Sani Franci, Isa Cardinal, Taya Goldie, Poppy Pattinson, Elena Lette, Sophia Poor, who's gone out on loan to Nottingham Forest, Freya Godfrey, Nikita Paris, Elena Linari, Paola Pardito, who's gone out on loan to Dux Logrono, and of course, most recently, Yana Fernandez. Laura, which of these surprised you the most? Because a few of these came out of left field. And then also, which of these do you think is the most astute signing?
Yeah, I was really trying to weigh this up, because with surprises in London City Lionesses, it's kind of like nothing's a surprise at this point. You just kind of expect a surprise from them. So to kind of pinpoint the one that maybe most surprised me, I think Daniela van der Donk is the kind of statement signing, but not necessarily a surprise, just because of the like stage of her career and the fact she was at Lyon before, and obviously we know the links that you've kind of outlined really well. So I guess Yana Fernandez, probably the biggest surprise for me. Makes more sense in the context of everything that's happening at Barcelona, which I'm sure we could do a whole other podcast episode on, but really sad to see what's happening to Barcelona. But at the same time, yeah, London City Lionesses taking advantage of that, and I think that's a huge signing, and will be really good. And then I've kind of gone with who I assume will kind of partner her in defence as maybe the most astute, in Elena Linari, which was also a surprise, but featuring in the Euros Team of the Year. And I think that is an incredibly good signing, because we kind of always look at the forward line signings as maybe the more exciting ones, who's going to contribute goals and assists, but they've actually created like a really, really strong defence. And I think when they start to gel together, that could be really pivotal. Because I think when you look at the table, there's teams further down. Like if you look at West Ham's season last season, they scored the most goals outside of the top four, but they finished ninth because their defence couldn't hack it. So I think that can be really pivotal in terms of like how teams can thrive in the WSL, and the fact that they've got such good players in that defensive pairing is, a little bit scary.
For sure. It's interesting, isn't it? Because, Yana Fernandez is a player who ended up playing so much for Barcelona last year when Onyebache was injured. And, she's come in with so much experience of playing against brilliant players. And the standard that the WSL has is, very similar to the Champions League and the top level of Liga FA. And then you're looking at Elena Lari, like you said, the team of the tournament at the Euros. It's exciting times, no doubt, for London City Lionesses. Izzy, do you think it's been a smart transfer window, smart policy to have this kind of rotation? Would you say it's too much change, or do you think, like Laura said, these players who are coming in are just too good to pass up on?
It's a weird one. I kind of go back and forth on it actually myself. Like having said earlier that, they need to wipe the slate clean almost. It feels like it's a lot of big names, even like the likes of Yana Fernandez, who I was also actually very surprised by. I think she could have easily landed a gig at a sort of top two club, to be honest. But there's clearly a sort of allure to going to London City Lionesses that is being offered to these big name players. I mean, Danielle van der Donk, again, that's a huge statement, given that last time she was in the WSL, she was playing for Arsenal. So I think it is smart to get some of those big name players, but maybe having so many on one team might not actually work out as well as it might have planned. I mean, I'm just thinking about that they've got like Nikita Paris now, they've got Izzy Goodwin, they've got Kosovari Aslani, to name a few. And then, you have that backed up by the likes of the big names that we've sort of mentioned. And I'm like, does that overcrowd the kind of people who've been there, or the smaller names like Taya Goldie, people we know from, that are kind of coming up through the game? I worry that maybe, too much experience might kind of send the balance off kilter a little bit.
Yeah, I could see it. It really does feel like one that could go either way, regardless of the situation. It's certainly a real vote of confidence in Jocelyn Brayshaw. I wanted to ask you, Laura, what you think, how you think he'll do this year as in charge of London City.
Yeah, I think he's obviously got the pedigree from being at PSG and a much better manager than maybe you'd expect to see at WSL 2 levels. So I think he's definitely a WSL level manager. I think it kind of exactly what Izzy was saying in terms of it comes down to how well he's able to like integrate the new players. And I think almost in those first games, you don't want him to be going for like wholesale change and fit every player in and just get them all on the pitch. And I feel like I could be completely wrong in this, but I feel like the directive from Michelle Kang will be get as many big name players on the pitch as possible, because we need to create this identity and we need to make a statement. And it depends how much control they're willing to give pressure in that. And I also assume that Michelle Kang is like hugely astute as well and won't kind of interfere with the football. But yeah, it's just such a weird one of like how it will play out and how the approach to football is at that club and what comes first. So it's really hard to predict because I think you'd almost want to start as similarly as you can to last season, slotting in the new players too, and then you kind of make that change further on, because also a lot of them are coming back late from the Euros of their new signings. So yeah, it's really, really hard to call, and kind of giving exactly the same answer as Izzy here. But I think it will be really interesting to see how he deals with all that change, and how he goes about, whether he goes for I'm going to try and fit all the superstars into the starting lineup in a kind of Norway style, or whether he goes, I'm going to actually create a formation here that's going to work to the best interests, and it might not include like Daniela van der Donk starting, for example.
Yeah, it was very interesting in that interview that friend of the pod Emily Herbert did with Preacher. She asked him about the kind of recruitment policy, and he said that it was more of a Southern European recruitment policy where he doesn't have the final say over transfers. He can like give his opinion, but like at the end of the day, London City are going to buy the player that's best for them, whether he likes it. Well, he didn't say this, but it felt like that was kind of the way that it was directed towards him. Did you foresee any issues with that type of approach, or I mean,
Oh, absolutely! I foresee so many issues. Like I said, they're going to be masters of chaos, and that opening game at the Emirates is going to be an absolute banger. So yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of that kind of top down direction when it comes to transfers. I mean, I'm very much of the opinion that at the end of the day, it's sort of the manager who knows the players and the styles, and I do sometimes, I personally, I don't, maybe other people do, but I don't know a lot about what Michelle Kang knows about football, as in tactical football, or the game. She knows a lot about the business of the game, and she's no one can really argue with her credentials there. But yeah, when it comes kind of to targeting those players, I think it's a bit risky to kind of send it all down from the top. But also, if it works, like, props to her, keep doing what you're doing. I just think a lot of what they do now is going to be about making statements, and making statements is not always maybe the most prudent approach if you're just promoted into a league.
Yeah, we've maybe seen that a little bit with Washington Spirit, where they've been making statements, but they haven't been winning the title, haven't been winning the NWSL. Yeah. I mean, he was saying that there's like the recruitment team do the buying and he does the managing, and then he'll have input, which is interesting. Like, just the Southern European is what he was saying, and he's used to it. So be very interesting to see. And obviously he knows Sonia Bonpastor well from being PSG manager when she was Lyon manager, so that's something to look out for as well this season. Just to move on to other changes over the summer, Martin Semmens is the new club CEO. He was formerly vice president and CEO at Southampton. He'll work with London City managing director Sarah Batters. Likely a big part of his role is going to be overseeing the development of the brand new training centre in Aylesford. Other point of business is that they have a new kit sponsor or partner in Nike. So I'm looking forward to that one, because I feel like there's a lot of potential and they haven't really used it in the last few years. But I don't think they've released their kit yet. They've been playing in a training kit in pre-season. And then obviously second season at Hayes Lane as well, since moving to Bromley last year. So that kind of brings us up to date and into the new season. So we'll kind of have a little chat about what are our expectations for this season. It's probably the hardest team to call what those expectations should be. Their pre-season started with victory over Dutch champions 20. They beat them 2-1. Isabel Goodwin and Julia Rodar got on the score sheet. They played a behind-closed doors friendly against Bristol City last Saturday, which I have not for the life been able to find out what the score was. But yeah, behind closed doors, that's fine. It's okay. And then they obviously play Lyon next, which will be a bit of fun. Actually, I wanted to quickly ask you about that, Laura. Lyon, what do you think of playing them in pre-season? Is it like good for everyone, or is there something a bit odd about it?
I think it's fine. Like it's a top team. I think if they were doing it from the WSL2, then yeah, it's a bit strange. But I think it's all part of this whole Michelle Kang weirdness. But yeah, it'll be fun for everyone. I mean, you'd hope. Well, if you're a Leon fan, you'd hope that Leon are gonna win that one. But yeah, Daniela van der Donk gets to see her mates and should be happy days for everyone. I think, yeah, I don't think you can deep friendlies too much, and it'll be kind of a good test for London City Lionesses. And I guess if Michelle Kang can make that happen, then why not do it? Because I think that's what they need probably in pre-season. So yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, I think. And then they've got Leicester to finish it off, which is quite a nice way of getting used to that kind of playing the proper elite top 1% teams and then playing, the ones that they're going to probably be competing with for those mid-table spots, if that's a fair assessment of what their season might be. We have no idea because it's such an interesting one to think about what might happen to them this season. Izzy, can you talk to us about some potential star players for London City this season?
Well, I think we've mentioned them all, haven't we? I love Izzy Goodwin, actually, and not just because she has a good name. I think she's great, and I'm hoping that, she still gets her chance to kind of put her mark on the league. She definitely deserves it. And, that's not sort of overshadowed by the kind of statement signings. I'm excited to have Linari in the team, and I think like Laura said, like it's going to be really great to see her in defence with Yana Fernandez. I knew nothing about Linari before the Euros, and then Tom, you enlightened me. You were the Linari whisperer. You went on about her so much that I couldn't help being drawn to her in the games, and now I'm obsessed with her too. So I think that's going to be a really interesting one to watch. And I'm going to say Nikita Paris. I just think she's still got so much to give. She might have a little bit of a chip on her shoulder about not going to the Euros in the summer. And I think actually no one's really mentioned her in the context of the transfers. But if I were to sort of say the most solid transfer, I think it is her. I think it's exactly where she needs to be. And I think she can link up really well with, all those other really experienced players on the team. Those would be my kind of 3 star players that I'm looking out for.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's interesting with Nikita Paris that she's got probably more WSL experience, it feels like, than anyone else on that team. And that's going to be vital this season. As far as breakthrough stars for the season are concerned, Laura, what do you think on that front? Who's your pick?
Yeah, I mean, this pod, just talking to you two, has just made me want to kind of sit down and be like, right, what is their starting lineup going to be? Because I'm just getting more and more confused the more we talk. Because Nikita Paris had a great season, kind of in that centre forward role, but then you're looking at Izzy Goodwin, and just like you can't really look past her for that role. So then does Paris move into more of a wing role, which we've obviously seen her in before, but didn't necessarily go that well with Arsenal in a previous kind of iteration of that. So yeah, it will be so interesting. And then I think I was trying to come up with breakthrough stars, and it's really hard because it's who starts that could be a breakthrough star and isn't just a kind of big name signing that probably has already broken through. Because if you have Paris, Goodwin, Aslani, Jakobsen already in that kind of midfield forward line, you're short for space elsewhere, and you've got Linari, Fernandez. I put Poppy Pattinson down as maybe a breakout star, but she's 25 and has already kind of settled in the WSL. So how much of a breakthrough star you could really say? I think my cheat is to recap on Izzy Goodwin and just say this could be a really big season for kind of breaking into the England squad. In terms of a breakthrough star in that way, because she was insane last season in the championship and she looks so good. And I think she's shown she can do a bit of everything because she's acted as a bit of a poacher. She plays that role really well. But then that final game, if you didn't see that final game, please go and watch it. You probably had to see it on social media, even if you didn't watch the game. But Izzy Goodwin's goal in that game was delightful. Kind of curling shot from the edge of the box, and it just shows that she's got a bit of everything in her locker, and super tall. So I think that's going to be really interesting. And then I had Rafiat Imiran down, who I think looked really good in a lot of games from. Let me get my left and right. I think left back, if I can recall one of the fullback positions. I don't know my left and rights very well, and yeah, she didn't have. It was really hard because the stats weren't there for her because she's under a different name. She's under two names on SofaScore, so it all got a bit confusing when I was trying to kind of nail down a bit more to tell you about her. But in the games that I watched, she looked quite good. But then I'm also like, I feel like her route to first team football will likely get blocked this season. So it is, really hard to call. But I think there'll definitely be some breakout stars. I'm just not the person to call them out. I'm not a Real Sociedad kind of aficionado. So maybe one of those two signings or one of the newer signings that I'm not too up on. I wish I could give a bit more on that question.
No, I think you've answered that really well. I mean, I liked your spin on the good win for England breakthrough. I think I can see that. I really can. It's interesting because we've had a few players who've like torn up the championship and then for whatever reason, usually injury, to be honest, up front, have not been able to then take the step up. So I'm really hoping that she can as well. So, I mean, before I ask you where they're going to finish in the season, I want to just go through their opening fixtures. So, start of the season, Arsenal away, Manchester United at home, Everton away, Manchester City away. How many points are they getting from those games, do you think?
One.
Laura?
Maybe, two. Two or four.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because it is conceivable they come out of those games with 0, and it's also conceivable they come out of those games with like 8 or 9. That's just the way that they are this season. So, what do we think? Looking more than those 4 games, where London City Lionesses is going to finish in the WSL this season?
I think they'll finish. Sorry, you go.
Sorry, no, you go, Laura. You go.
I think they'll finish quite high up. I don't know if they'll have the best start. I think you can kind of have the fact that they don't get many points from those games and still finish quite high up because that pack is often so tight. I think West Ham started so slowly. I think they didn't win any of their first 7 matches, and then by the third to last game of the season could have finished 5th, I think, if everything had gone their way. So I can see that happening with London City Lionesses. If I back the kind of theory that they'll start slowly because they've brought in so many new players and haven't really gelled and will be a bit all over the place, but then kind of get their act together in the latter half and can maybe pinpoint a few more signings in January within that framework of, okay, this is the squad that we actually have. So I would predict a 6th place finish.
6th place. Interesting. Izzy, what do you reckon?
I can see that, but I'm gonna be more skeptical because that's my nature, and I can see them almost doing a Brighton last season, sort of like, actually, to me, it's totally conceivable. I know I said 0 or 1 points, but it is totally conceivable to me that they go to the Emirates and they win because Arsenal have the pressure of a Champions League and a lot of Euros winning players, and we all know what Arsenal like to do at home on the first game of the season against lower teams. So I can really see a sort of pre-Christmas stomp from London City Lionesses as they kind of supercharge and then get a bit stale when the league comes back in January. It's not out of the question injury-wise as well. I mean, they brought in a lot of experienced players, but with that comes age and sort of general weariness. So I'm going to say seventh, eighth is sort of where I see that going.
Yeah, it's just there's so many possibilities for this season. Like I feel like I can't remember the last time somebody was promoted. Maybe Liverpool when they were promoted, but that you're like they're not going to finish last straight up. Like it feels it feels odd. I feel like I'm kind of closer to them finishing like 10th or 9th, but then they've still got like it's hard to imagine that a team with Daniela van der Donk playing all games and Jana Fernandez playing all their games that they're going to finish 10th in the WSL. But there's a lot of quality.
I think as well, like when you think like the sort of changes that are coming to the league on the horizon, that adds an interesting dimension to it with regards to like the playoff and stuff. And I think Kang will have one eye on that, and that will change maybe their strategy a little bit. And I don't know what materially that does to their sort of performance, but I guess it kind of sort of sends them in a certain direction and holds a higher standard for them that they're going to have to reach just to avoid being in a sort of, just missing relegation situation.
Yeah. Let me throw a scenario at both of you. London City Lionesses finished 12th, Birmingham finished 3rd. We get round 2. Could be good. Could be good.
Could be so good.
Yeah, we'd love that.
I completely froze and didn't hear anything you said.
I was throwing a scenario that if London City Lionesses finished last and Birmingham finished 3rd, we'd get a rematch.
Oh, incredible.
Yeah.
In that case, I'd back Birmingham.
Yeah. It would be phenomenal. But yeah, we wouldn't wish the playoffs on any team, but those two, because that would be amazing. And then so that's kind of it for their expectations this season, and we'll move on to Izzy, to your bread and butter, aerial fantasy, not fancy WSL anymore, aerial fantasy. And we'll could you tell us a little bit? I wanted to ask you actually, Izzy, about how you approach integrating a new team, especially one that's never been in the WSL, into the game.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit different this time. Again, it's weird. It's like the Kang approach has almost kind of infected the way I like my process. But usually, you kind of expect, like with Bristol, like with Crystal Palace, that those teams will not do as well as they'd like in the WSL, and that step up will be kind of a big one. So, when we consider things like prices, then that is kind of based on the sort of assumption that they're looking at teams similar around them that finish sort of on the bottom end of the table. And then obviously, we research and we know who the sort of standout stars are, or any interesting new signings when they kind of move up. So you can kind of contextualize it like that. Obviously, this time it's a bit different because you can't contextualize Danielle van der Donk as a 12th place team. Like you just can't. In fact, it would be highly disrespectful if you did that. So so Kang has thrown a spanner in the works, and we had to kind of change our tune. And it's definitely, it's really interesting because we're probably, from a fantasy perspective, treating Leicester City as the relegated team rather than London City.
That's really interesting. Yeah, because there's the pricing. I don't know how you approach that. It's so interesting to know, especially with players who have done so well in WSL2 and then get promoted and haven't played in the league really that much. But Laura, who I'm putting you in the place. You're making your team. It's Friday, an hour before Chelsea Man City kicks off. I'm sure you wouldn't leave it this late, but if you had, which London City Lionesses players are going in that team? Which are must-haves?
Well, I have actually made my first draft after I had a conversation with you. I
Love
was inspired. So currently, the picks. So yeah, I think it is really interesting. I've kind of gone through, and I think there are still some potential bargains from London City Lionesses to be had, given kind of everything that Izzy's just explained. And I think I've kind of looked at a potential like second choice goalkeeper, Emily Orman. I think she starts, barring any kind of signings that they make. I don't think they've signed another goalkeeper. Do correct me if I'm wrong, but whoever it is, I think all their goalkeepers are 4 mil, as far as I'm aware, and that could be a great kind of backup keeper that definitely starts and is not in like a kind of relegation position, depending on how you see London City Lionesses kind of going. But with the defence that we've kind of spoken about in front of them, that's a really strong option, I think. And then my other one was potentially, I think there are some really like interesting picks all over, but potentially Aslani as a forward at 6.5 on penalties, I think still, although that could be subject to change. But I imagine she's still on penalties, and so many assists and goals. I think there was like 3 players that seemed to be involved in nearly all of London City Lionesses' goals last season. It was Sophia Jakobsen, who's also an interesting pick in midfield at 6 mil. But yeah, Sophia Jakobsen for the assists, Aslani and Goodwin were all involved in goals. So maybe a bit risky because she does play a bit deeper, Aslani, to have her as a forward, but a cheaper option, which is, yeah, I think they'd be my kind of standout picks.
Yeah, and Aslani, if there was any doubt that she can do it on the bigger stage, then you only need to look back as far as July to know that she can. Izzy, how about yourself? What are the kind of like maybe lesser owned visionary picks that you're anticipating?
Yeah, on my own first draft, I actually have no London City Lionesses teams because I just can't call it so much that I'm just steering clear for now, subject to change. Visionaries, at time of recording, obviously, we're expecting for more players to join the game, and so as more users join, the visionaries will be larger because there's more people picking, and so the percentages go down. There's not as many visionaries as you would think. Taya Goldie and Freya Godfrey are very highly owned because we have a lot of Arsenal fans playing the game. And so obviously there are a lot of familiar names there. I'd say any defender bar, the big ones that we've mentioned would be a good pick if you're looking at sort of a visionary thing. Sophia Jakobsen, last time I checked, had about 3% ownership, so she's not a visionary, but conceivably could be by the time the season starts, and I think that would be sort of one I'm very tempted by myself. Also, one we haven't spoke about at all, but Kumagai. She's also on, I think, 3%. So she's very, very close to being a visionary. She's obviously got a lot of experience. Potentially, I think she could be a very good option. But again, it's how much sort of how many eggs you want to put in the defensive basket of London City Lionesses. But I suspect as you get further forward the pitch, there will be very few lesser known picks. So yeah, it's a really interesting one. And I hope that as the sort of season progresses, we'll start to see like those smaller names actually do really well, and we'll have some sort of good visionaries come from that. But personally, right now, like I couldn't tell you who it's going to be, which makes it really interesting.
Yeah, that's what we love, isn't it? We don't want to. Well, we want to predict it correctly, but by kind of.
I want to win, but I want it to be fun and interesting. But I do want to know everything right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's we're at that brilliant point of the season where everything's possible and everything's impossible as well. So, yeah, I think you're right about those players like Godfrey and Goldie. I think because they're so much cheaper as well, and they're going to be enabling a lot of budgets. But I feel like maybe with London City, it might be a case of holding off for 4 games or so, and then when the fixtures turn, although I haven't said that, they've got Chelsea pretty soon after that, but when the fixtures turn, maybe taking a look at who's done well and who might make the difference for them. But yeah, that brings us on to what Laura's been here for, to defend her crown once again. It's Know Your Stat, London City Lionesses edition. So we'll...
Tom, I hope the rounds are not just like name Michelle Kang's investments.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do very well.
Yeah, the lineal crown is going if that's
the case. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. Laura, I'm going to give you the first choice here of subject. I'll give you 3 subjects to choose from. So the first one is title deciders, second one is goal involvements, and the third one is Michelle Kang.
I'll start safe and go goal involvement. Well, I say safe. That is not safe. Nothing's safe here. My London City Lionesses knowledge is shockingly low, but on stats, I'm not just derailing the whole podcast by saying I don't know anything. Yeah, we'll go goal involvement, sorry.
Okay, nice. All right then, so what we're looking for, which might not surprise you, this question, any player who got goal involvement for London City Lionesses last season in the WSL 2 only, so we're not talking about the Cups, only the WSL 2. Laura, you ready to kick us off?
Yep. I'll go Izzy Goodwin to start off with.
Izzy Goodwin? Absolutely correct.
I'll go for Aslani then.
Aslani, absolutely correct. 1 and 2 marked off there. Laura?
Sophia Jakobsen, the tripartite.
Yeah, again correct.
Yeah, now I'm screwed. Let's go Taya Goldie.
Taya Goldie, again correct.
Go Ivanovic. I think she scored a late winner.
She did indeed, correct. Just that was her 1 goal involvement. Well done, very well done.
I'm gonna go rogue because I've already run out of people to think of. Was Risha Littlejohn one?
Risha Littlejohn is incorrect. I'm sorry to say, she did not get one last season. So that gives the first round to the champ. Yeah, that was, I think. Yeah, because she scored a few goals this season, Risha Littlejohn, made some headlines, but I think that might have been after she left London City and she went...
Oh, was it? Yeah, I was wondering if it was the FA Cup thing as well, but...
Potentially, yeah, absolutely. I reckon you might be onto something there. Izzy, it's not all over. You've got a chance to come back.
It's not over till it's over.
Exactly. So, do you want title deciders or do you want Michelle Kang?
I want Michelle Kang.
I thought you might. Okay, so and yeah, don't hate me, Izzy, please. But you probably
do I have to name for investments?
You'd probably be well within your rights to. So, any player who was playing for a club when Michelle Kang became the majority shareholder owner. I'm going to make it slightly easier. I'm going to tell you the teams that she's owned and when they became hers. So Washington Spirit is March 2022. Lyon is May 2023. And London City Lionesses is December 2023. So Izzy, I'm going to start with you.
Lindsay Horan now Heaps.
Lindsay Horan now Heaps is correct.
Wendy Renard.
Wendy Renard is, of course, correct.
I'm wondering like how to play this. I'm gonna go for Danielle van der Donk.
Danielle van der Donk is correct.
I'll keep it in the family and go Ellie Carpenter.
Ellie Carpenter is, of course, correct.
I am gonna say Neville.
Neville is correct. First London City Lioness.
I'm gonna go back to France and go Ada Hegerberg.
Hegerberg is correct.
I'm pretty sure this was within the time. Diani. No, I'm such a big fat loser, aren't I?
What do you mean?
Did she play for PSG?
I'm afraid Diani is our first incorrect answer.
No.
So that does mean that you have the opportunity here, Laura, to take your second win and confirm that 100% record.
I don't know if I can do it.
Michelle Carring has destroyed me.
I thought that was what your guess was.
I'm gonna gamble. Oh, it was Fitzgerald at LCL at that time.
Lucy Fitzgerald was indeed at LCL at that time. So well done, Laura. You take it. Yeah,
so pleased. I was not getting another answer after that.
I think I really confused my French people. So sorry for the French, I guess.
I'm pretty. She must have been one of the very first signings that they made. It wasn't long after. I think I probably would have done the same thing. And the annoying thing is that Rusha Littlejohn was the correct answer to this question.
I thought she might have been, but I was too scared after the last time I said much like Michelle Kang, wherever Rusha Littlejohn is mentioned, chaos tends to follow. So
exactly, match made in heaven. There's so many correct answers here, so I'm gonna. Some of them actually were correct for two teams, which was quite fun. But yeah, maybe we'll get this to be put up on socials or something like that. Sam, you know what to do if people want to see what the correct answers were. So would you like to do the last round anyway? As a little.
Yeah, go on then.
Yeah.
Go on then.
Okay, Laura. So last one. Any player who played in the London City Lionesses versus Birmingham City finale last season.
Oh,
so
God, I was actually there. Okay.
For either London City or Birmingham.
I'm going to start with Izzy Goodwin again and be really boring. Sorry.
Yeah, correct.
Aslani.
Correct.
So is this Birmingham City as well?
Yeah, you can go Birmingham too.
Okay. I'm not. I'm going to go Chantel Boy-Lorca, who I think scored the other London City Lionesses goal.
Correct, of course.
Lucy Quinn.
Lucy Quinn's correct.
I was going to go Lucy Quinn next. I'll go for the other Quinn, Louise Quinn, who was given like 2 minutes as a send-off.
Yeah. Correct.
I feel like she might have been the only Birmingham player I knew. She was playing for Birmingham, yeah? I'm not just like making that up.
No,
Yeah.
you're correct.
Then I'm going to go for Megan Campbell.
Megan Campbell is correct as well.
I'll go for Taya Goldie. I think she was subbed at halftime.
Goldie's correct.
Sophia Jakobsen.
Sophia Jakobsen is correct.
Emily Orman.
Emily Orman, correct.
Oh, that was my next one. Oh my god, do you know what's really horrible? It's like when they were in the WSL, I used to know so much about Birmingham City, and now I couldn't name a single person other than Louise Quinn. I can't even name like the goalie. I am gonna say Kumagai.
Saki Kumagai is correct.
My mind's gone completely blank on the Birmingham striker. Like I can see her in my head, which is really annoying. And now I've like so focused on her, I can't really get anyone else in my head. So, I don't know if she played at all, so this is a complete gamble. But I'll go with my shout for breakout star and go Rafia Imran. But I feel like she probably didn't play, so this could be 2-1.
Rafia Imran did start that game, so a correct answer.
Okay. I can't even remember who I've already said.
I can go through the list of all of them that we've said so far. You've said so far.
Oh, can you? Is that allowed? I don't think that's allowed, but can you do it anyway?
If Laura, if you're happy for that to happen as well.
I'm not going to be that. That would look so bad on me if I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm doing it up and I'm not allowing that.
Like, no.
I think that would be quite funny.
Also, I'd like to point out Laura was at the match and I flicked through it like 3 times on a TV.
Yeah.
Well, no,
to be fair, I think I'd forgotten. I may have forgotten that Laura was at the match when I made these questions. I'll be honest with you. Okay, so you've already had Goodwin, Aslani, Boya Lorca, Lucy Quinn, Louise Quinn, Megan Campbell, Taya Goldie, Sophia Jakobsen, Emily Orman, Saki Kumagai, and Umran.
Okay, Lucy Neville.
Neville is correct.
I'm getting really confused with my Birmingham City defenders because they had so many that kind of got injured throughout the season. But just come to me, Emily Van Egmond.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Van Egmond is correct. Well done. Well done. Got an all-timer round on our hands here.
I'm not a bowing out kind of girl, but do you know what? Marisha Littlejohn, did you play by any chance?
I love that you answered Risha Littlejohn to every single question that she wasn't correct for, except the one I'm afraid Littlejohn is incorrect. I'm sorry to say. I wish she was correct.
It was a stretch.
Yeah, so that's just about all we've got time for today. Laura, champion again. You've underlined your credentials. How does it feel?
I feel like an Arsenal fan. Champions again, ole ole. 2 times. That's all I'm coming on now. Champions League winner twice. Can't do any more appearances. Sorry.
Sensational. Izzy, commiserations, but thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you.
A great host.
I was up
guest,
against the
always.
best, so I don't feel bad that I lost. It happens.
Yeah, someday, be talking to your grandkids and saying, yeah, I came up against Laura Howard once,
I was the Barcelona of that story, and I lost. And you know what? That's okay, because I've won the league many other times. I didn't need a Champions League win.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, you're definitely Barcelona and already have the title. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And losing money by the day. In fact, I am Barcelona. Yeah.
I think we're all Barcelona, aren't we? But we better end it there before things get too out of hand. But thank you for tuning in, listener, into Decoding WSL. Again, we're almost there, almost back with matches week in, week out, back in the WSL. And actually, I'll just quickly come to Laura or Izzy. Do you have anything you'd like to plug?
I will quickly say play Aerial Fantasy, but also we have a Decoding WSL League, which will be up on socials, but the code is Stats and Facts. So if you type that in when it says join a league on the app, you can play with other Decoding the WSL fans, and you can almost certainly beat me.
Fantastic. And Laura, did you have anything you wanted to plug today?
I will say that I won't win on fantasy. That is one place where I can say I'm definitely not the champion and usually the bottom. So I look forward to everyone thrashing me there. In terms of plugging, probably not. You go by. I will be writing some of the Mirror's women's football news supplement in some rogue shop somewhere. If you want to go and buy that, there will be a season preview in the next one, and you can read all about London City Lionesses from Millie McAvoy.
Amazing. And make sure to follow Laura Howard on all platforms. She's brilliant. We saw her fantastic Lionesses pull out for the Mirror. Wow, what an effort. It was fantastic. Even as an Irishman, I appreciated that one. So thanks both of you for joining us today. Really enjoyed that one. We'll see how London City Lionesses get on. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow Decoding the WSL on Instagram, and also check out the new Decoding the WSL YouTube channel. You can find all the podcasts on there, plus extra content like the recommended recruits series. I think there's been Arsenal and Manchester United so far. And yeah, stay tuned for more. So thanks again for listening, and I'll speak to you in the next one.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Very smooth.